Hello everybody, welcome to my channel 25th and South. My name is Cece and today you're watching a speed build, but not any old speed build. This is a holiday speed build. Now I decided that I wanted to create a Christmas themed build, but I wanted to do something a little different. I'm very interested in knowing how other people celebrate this time of year, this sort of holiday time of year. And I'm also interested in knowing just sort of traditions and the reasons why people celebrate it. So I decided to make this to make this a collab. And so there is a list of YouTubers down below who are joining me in this collab called How I Celebrate, hashtag How I Celebrate. And each of them will be sharing the reasons why they celebrate whatever holiday. So it could be Christmas or it could be winter solstice or something like that. During this time of year, I think there are a couple of YouTubers that are actually going to be sharing holidays that aren't celebrated this time of year, but are as important to their religion as Christmas is important to Christians. So I'm very, very excited to see all of their videos, and hopefully they'll be released. I'll be able to put a playlist of everybody's videos towards the end of this week. But I'm very, very excited that so many people have joined me in this. And if you are a YouTuber or sim YouTuber and you want to try this to include in maybe your holiday video calendar, go ahead, do the hashtag How I Celebrate, and during the video just sort of share your reasons for celebrating. You can share traditions that you have in your family that you do every year. But so yeah, that's essentially the collab, and let's get into this build. So I grew up in kind of a post World War II 1950s ranch style house. So this house that I'm building is kind of inspired by that particular style. Hopefully one day I'll build my childhood home. It's just sort of a difficult build, so I haven't tried to tackle it just yet. But that's the kind of style that I grew up in. So this is a 3-bedroom house. It has a kitchen and a living room, 2 bathrooms, sort of an ensuite bathroom, and then a kind of a family bathroom that's sort of next to the 2 smaller bedrooms. And then it also has a detached garage. The house that I grew up in had a carport. Not a garage, but there were some houses in the neighborhood that did have a garage, both attached and unattached. And so I kind of wanted this house to look sort of old school because my house looked old school. We didn't really do a whole lot of updates to that house growing up. Essentially, when I went to college, my parents just bought a new house that was a more modern house. And so they've lived in their new house for about 13 years. And the house that I grew up in, actually, my aunt and uncle live in it now. And they've done a lot of really cool updates to it. But I digress. So that's kind of the kind of house that I'm building. And really, in my family, my dad was the one that sort of decorated for the holiday, for Christmas. He decided when the tree went up, and we helped do the tree, but it was mostly just my dad that did the tree. He had a particular way that he liked to do it. We didn't really put a whole lot of lights or things like that outside of our house because our house sort of set on a hill, and there was really no real way to hang lights from the roof because we had a sort of an unstable deck. Nobody wants to stand on the ladder and put lights up, but so I didn't really put lights or anything up on the house, but there are lights across the fencing, fairy lights across the fencing. But the house was carpeted through most of the house, and which is something that we really don't see too often anymore. Usually it's hardwood floors and things like that, but it was a good house. So kind of as I'm getting into the building of the house, I'll kind of explain kind of how we did Christmas. So me and my family, I grew up in a Christian household. I'm still a Christian today. And so for us, Christmas is the celebration of the birth of Christ. Now, for theologians out there, those who study religion and have studied sort of the timeline of sort of ancient Judaism, will know that Jesus was not born, or was most likely not born during winter, that he was most likely born either in the spring, between the spring and early fall. So why is it that Christians celebrate the birth of Christ during the winter or on December 25th? Well, there are a couple of reasons. And I'll kind of read a little blurb that I found on the website Southern Living. And essentially, Christians celebrated, or for the first 300 years of Christianity, so the first 300 years after the death of Christ, they usually celebrated his birth or his life on January 6th, which was during a observation called Epiphany. I think I'm pronouncing it right. But around 270 years after the church was established, the Christian church was established, they began celebrating it during December, during the festival called Winter Solstice, that was often celebrated by the Romans and, celebrated by the Romans. That was a celebration of the sun, and because the winter solstice celebrates the longest day of the year, so it sort of marks winter. And then there was also a celebration called the Sun of Righteousness during that time that was also celebrated a sort of a Greek god. And so Christians began celebrating the birth of Christ, who we consider our God, or the Son of God, during this time as more of a teaching tool during church, to teach the importance of Christ and sort of compare and contrast these sort of pagan gods that were being celebrated around them. But Christmas was not widely observed until the Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity and declared that the Roman Empire would favor the Christian religion, and then it wasn't celebrated on the December 25th, or the birth of Jesus wasn't celebrated on December 25th until about 336 AD. So after his death, about 300 or so years later, December 25th became the official day that Christians celebrated the birth of Christ. And the name Christian literally means the Mass of Christ. So the word Christmas is inherently a Christian word, even though today many people, when they celebrate Christmas, are not celebrating the birth of Christ. They are just celebrating, Santa Claus and trees and giving gifts and things like that. So there's a lot of Christian, or a lot of non-Christian traditions that have been pulled into the day of celebrating Christmas that are inherently from other celebrations. So like Yule, and the winter solstice. So the idea of having a tree and having mistletoe and having those things are not inherently Christian. So you will not open up the Bible and see stories of Mary and Joseph dragging in a tree into to their house and putting a bunch of lights all over it. That didn't happen. So those things, Christians, obviously, there are Christians that do put up trees and things like that. We put up a tree, knowing that that's not really the reason why we celebrate it, but it's fun to do. And putting up those kind of holiday decorations, it's just fun to do no matter what, right? Sort of a lot of themes that Christians do celebrate. So if you see sort of the nativity scene, which we didn't have a nativity scene growing up in my house. We didn't even have a tiny little figurine of it. I have no idea why, but we just didn't. But a lot of times nativity scenes, they feature, Jesus in a manger, which is essentially a trough that animals would eat out of. So the story goes, Mary and Joseph traveled to Bethlehem in order to take part in the census, and when they got there, they were unable to find accommodations. Mary went into labor, and they found this barn, and that's where Jesus was born, and that is what the nativity scene is depicting. Now, an inaccuracy in the nativity scene is the 3 wise men were not at the birth of Jesus. They actually did not show up until Jesus was maybe a toddler, maybe a little older, but they traveled, but they did present him with gifts once they did find him in Nazareth. So that's a bit of an inaccuracy of the nativity scene. There were shepherds in the fields guarding their sheep, which is why there is that speculation of Jesus wasn't born in the winter, because the shepherds probably would not been out or had their sheep out in the open during that particular season. But the idea of the North Star being brighter than all the other stars in the night to sort of celebrate the birth of Christ, and angels and singing to the shepherds about the birth of Christ, that is all depicted in the Bible and more accurate to the nativity scene that is often featured. So as far as family traditions go, how we more specifically celebrate Christmas in my household, it kind of changes every year. Sometimes we're at home, my parents, my brother, and sometimes his children, and then maybe my sister will come to visit. They live about a couple of hours away. And family will come to our house. Sometimes we go to an extended family member's house and celebrate there with a lot of family. So it kind of just depends on who wants to host Christmas. Kind of a fun thing that's going to happen this year is I'll actually be celebrating Christmas in Arizona this year. So I'm from Arkansas. So Arkansas, we have all the seasons, right? So in the winter, sometimes it does snow during Christmas, sometimes it doesn't, but it's usually cold. So I'm really interested to see Arizona, since it is a more warmer climate state than Arkansas, since it's in the desert, how a Christmas in Arizona will be. I have no idea how cold it gets, if it gets cold. I'm gonna have to do some research to figure out what to bring, but I'm really excited. We'll be celebrating with family that lives there, and I've never traveled this far to celebrate Christmas before. And in the current job that I have, a lot of times I don't celebrate Christmas because I have to work on Christmas. So I was excited to be able to get this holiday off and go celebrate it with family. But usually we will, get up in the morning, and obviously me and my siblings are much older. My sister's 40 and I'm 32 and my brother's 29, I think. So we don't really get given gifts that much anymore. I think last year we didn't get gifts at all. We just usually give gifts to my nieces and nephews who are much younger, who are still little kids, and really get a kick out of getting toys. But so we'll wake up early, we'll give toys, And if we decide to do gifts, we'll give each other gifts. Usually nothing too expensive. And then we'll have a Christmas lunch. So there'll be dressing and maybe turkey or ham, sort of traditional foods for our family. As far as dessert goes, there'll probably be like a sweet potato pie or something like that, maybe a chocolate pie. Of course, when we are celebrating with our extended family, there's way more different types of food. I'm from the South, so we'll have soul food, so cabbage and greens and cornbread and all that type of stuff. So it just even some random food in there that have nothing to do with Christmas will be thrown in. But we're pretty chill. Nothing too fancy of traditions. Probably the one thing that does happen every year is someone will tell the Christmas story that is, our the Bible, the accounts of Jesus' birth. So my dad will often read those particular passages from the Bible, or one of my other family members who is a minister will read it to the whole family. And so that's probably the main, what we do. If Christmas falls on a Sunday, obviously we'll go to church that day. But kind of my own personal, what I do, because I do live alone, what I do during the Christmas holidays is I will watch all of my Christmas movies. So I'll watch The Christmas Story, Polar Express. Really, I think a Christmas movie is any movie that has Christmas in it. So even if the movie is not inherently about Christmas, if Christmas is celebrated in that movie, I will watch it. So of course I'll watch Love Actually and stuff like that. The Holiday. I love watching Christmas movies. And I'll watch them through the entire month of December. And a lot of times on Christmas, we'll watch maybe A Christmas Story. And me and my dad are huge Doctor Who fans. So if Doctor Who has a Christmas special, we'll watch it. I don't think it will be on during Christmas this year. I believe they'll have a New Year's special, so we'll probably watch it during New Year's Day, but I'm sure there'll be a Doctor Who special rerun on Christmas that we'll watch. So that's kind of been our tradition for the last 10 years or so, that the newer Doctor Who episodes have been on air. We've watched Doctor Who Christmas specials. But yeah, that's how we celebrate Christmas in my household. And I'm kind of in this build. I didn't really explain the build all that much, but hopefully you got the gist of how Christmas kind of throws up all over my parents' house every year. There's all sorts of decorations going on, but I'm just kind of putting those final touches to the house here, working on the landscaping a little bit. I kind of made the house a little old school, a little tacky, not very updated, kind of sort of reminiscent of that, like I said in the beginning, that 1950s style. But I am winding down to the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a happy little thumbs up by way of hitting the like button. Comment down below how you celebrate. Share with me your origin ID if you have Christmas themed builds. I'd love to see those and love to hear how you celebrate. If you post a video, please use the hashtag #HowICelebrate. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content from me, please subscribe. I am so close to 100 subscribers, and I would love for you to join the 25th and South family. But yeah, so thank you to my collaborators. Again, check down their links below. Not everyone has their How I Celebrate video up, but go ahead, check out their content, subscribe to them. post notifications so that you'll see that video when it does pop up. And I will be creating a playlist that will have all of those videos, and I'll put it on my channel, and catch me on Twitter and all that fun stuff. But again, my name is Cece, and I promise never to break your game. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, have a wonderful holiday season. Bye.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent